Chers auditeurs,
dear listeners,
bonjour.
Welcome in comdarchipodcast Season 4.
Saison 4, dans le monde fascinant des architectes.
And in the architectural projects.
Je suis Anne-Charlotte Deponte, passionnée d'architecture et docteur des universités en histoire de l'archi.
I am one of the spokespersons of Anne-Charlotte, who is a PhD in architecture history.
Merci.
Thank you.
D'être avec moi aujourd'hui.
To be with us today.
Et
And
maintenant,
now,
lundi en français, place au talent.
and Wednesday, let's talk projects. In English, of course.
Bienvenue dans Comme d'Archi.
Hello everyone. Hello Benjamin Loiseau.
Hello, Anne-Charlotte.
You are architect. In 2 or 3 sentences, could you introduce us to your architectural practice?
So, I study in Paris, and I start my small firm called Mano in 2014. We call it Mano, but the name in Spanish and Italian of the end. So we have this idea of putting a lot of and work in our way of seeing architecture. We want to rethink architecture as an artisanal way of building.
Okay. And you have a strong background in Shanghai and in New York as well?
Yes, I used to work a bit less than 2 years in Shanghai, and I worked for 4 years in New York at Handel Architect in New York and Architecture-Studio in Shanghai. New York, I work also a bit with HWKN, which are former architects from OMA. And also, I start at a very early beginning with a small but very nice New York agency called I-Beam that I really like.
Bravo. Now, can you tell us about your projects? 2 projects. One, social housing renovation, and a small wood extension in Bagnolet, in the suburb of Paris.
Yes, so shared activity. That's what we call this. This is how we name this project. We are doing now like a co-design project with user. Our main idea in this social housing, it's a big social housing project with 300 housing, which are in a poor condition. We want to renovate it with the inhabitants, which means we're going to do physical model together. We're going to do meetings together. We're going to explore together what could be the future. I'm going to ask to everybody I met there, what is your dream for this place? And I'm going to try to bring all this information into my architecture.
Yes, and this methodology is very rare in France.
Yeah, it starts to become more and more usual, but yes, we are far from there. You know, actually, we don't start from zero. After 1968, we had a first kickoff with this kind of way of social architecture. Yes. Then in the 80s, it kind of stopped. And since the, let's say, early 2000, there's a kind of a comeback about the way of seeing architecture as a social project.
Okay. When it will be delivered, this project?
Oh, so it's a long process. So we start with it 3 years ago, and it's going to be at least for 3 more years now, from now. So 2026.
And you work about your thesis, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. I start a PhD about co-design in social housing. I actually use a lot of American researcher, but more into small-scale project. And I bring all this literature into architecture and into large-scale projects. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is like bring all these American studies called design studies here in France and here in a big architectural project, in a big social housing project.
Anything else about this project?
What I really see there is that, yes, we can do a project that is more focused on what people really want and what people really need. That's one main axis. But the other thing that is very interesting is the way that people are developing a more power to interact with the group, and we are more able to act, to have an impact on their surrounding. That's something very, very important for us. It's what we call empowerment.
They are part of the team, in fact.
Yeah, be able to work together, be able to act.
And now about your small project, the wood extension in Bagnolet.
I like to talk about this kind of project. When I'm talking about this one in particular, it could be like a way of seeing architecture in general. In my small firm, we really think differently how we try at least to work in a way a bit unusual for architects, which I mean, as an architect, I also on the site construction job, which means I can be there almost every day. I can give a hand to the constructor, and there is a very smooth transition in between constructor and architect. My firm is called Mano because my first project, I start as a constructor actually, and slowly I moved to mainly architecture, but I try to keep a foot inside the construction job.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's possible to harmonize the suburb of Paris?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the suburb will never be Paris, you know. We are working on a way to rethink how we are teaming up. How do we team up with construction job? How do we team up with user? How do we rethink the relationship in between all the actors of the architecture process?
Okay.
It's actually what I call in my PhD that I'm finishing now. I call it exploration collective, which means collective exploration.
Yes. It's big work.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yes.
I'm very glad to finally arriving to a final. But it's also very exciting. I'm very happy to do that.
And I think that the suburb of Paris need this kind of work approach.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There is an extra social need in the suburb. And when you can work a bit in a way a bit more horizontal, I truly believe that the architecture process gets smoother.
Okay. Last word for the end?
Yeah, I really think that as architects we have to understand what we want for the future. And as I see it, I really want to have an architectural practice that is way more participative, that is way more eco-friendly and way more experimental.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I wish you the best, Benjamin, for the future.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, everyone. See you next Wednesday for our new comdarchi in English. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Thanks to Julien Rebours, sound engineer, who is collaborating with us today. Don't forget to tune in to our previews on Instagram at comdarchipodcast. If you enjoy this podcast, don't hesitate to promote it by giving it 5 stars and a little comment on Apple Podcast or on your favorite podcast platform. And above all, subscribe to listen to all of our episodes for free. See you soon, and until then, take care of yourself.